Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or tea and let's talk about the astrology for the upcoming week. I can't believe it, but we are in the last week of June. That means half the year 2018 is gone. Wow. Hard to believe, right? It just seems like only yesterday I was boarding a ship in New Orleans bound for Cozumel for the new year. It is amazing how quickly time flies when we're having fun. Yay. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Let's see who we have out there. Good morning, Mimi. Good morning, Roseanne. And I can see a couple other people in the background just not checking in with us yet. But that's okay. Good morning to all of you. And it was definitely a good weekend. I remember on Friday, one of the things that I had said was that with the moon in Scorpio, for the weekend, some deep things could come up. And then when it was in relationship with Uranus, that some ahas or epiphanies or revelations could occur. And trust me when I say, from Friday afternoon through Sunday, it was one, what is that, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland? It was something to that effect. Although, like I had also said, these would be things that were most likely happening on the internal. And sure enough, the external was maybe the trigger, but the internal created the space for change and for that aha energy that was, at least for me, was incredible. It was just incredible. So let's talk about this week, and I might be able to share some of that with you as we talk about what's going on. We're sitting here today, Monday, June 25th. It is also the beginning of the Human Design Week, and we have a very, my favorite word, interesting week ahead of us, and some energies that I don't think we usually expect to talk about. And that is exactly what we're going to do here shortly. But let's just begin by taking a look at some of the highlights of the week. Big highlights, of course, tomorrow, Mars turns retrograde. It has been something we've been talking about for the last month or so in preparation for the time this planet would change directions. It's changing directions at 9 degrees of Aquarius and will move backwards to 29 degrees or so of Capricorn. And that one little span of degrees, those 10 or 11 degrees of your chart, are where this Mars energy is moving through. And in some people's charts, it is very prominent because perhaps you have planets there by birth and it's triggering things. For others of you, it may be planets that are squaring or opposite or opposing. But for some of you, it may not be a big deal at all. It just depends on your personal chart, which brings me to something that I also had an aha about this weekend. And I may be reaching out to a couple of you to test this for me, is that there was an opportunity for me to take a look at the month of July for a woman that I'm doing, that I check in with her monthly. She's got me on retainer, so to speak. So I do, monthly readings with her. And I happened to be glancing at my little ephemeris and I thought, why the heck not? Right? Why not look at this ahead, take the whole of at least the sun and the earth, or the major changes that are going to happen in the outer planets, and plot them against your astrology chart and your human design chart to see what might be coming up for you. And as I was doing this with someone on Saturday, I realized that the first week in July, the sun is at the gate of 39, which is the gate of provocation. And in her chart, that very powerfully connected up a channel of a possibility of emotional outbursts and emotional energies that can create some problems, some havoc in the workplace. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting for everybody to know? So, new reading for people, right? Part of the transit reading now for the summer is going to include a rundown of how the human design gates that are changing also through the month will be affecting you. Now, this won't make any sense to you, of course, if you haven't had a human design reading. You may know your Mimi's laughing. She says, I am in as a volunteer. Yes, I know. And so, of course, I've used my friend Michelle, and I've got my own chart, and I've got a couple others that I'm going to need to look at. And I'm doing this other woman's on Friday. I actually have 3 spaces this week, 3 Remember, I leave at the end of the week, so I'll be gone for 3 months. 3 months, I'll be gone for 3 weeks. So if you want a summer reading, if you want to know what's coming up for you this summer with the eclipses and Mars retrograde and the different planets changing signs and all of the stuff that comes up for us over a 3-month period of time, the first 3 of you that contact me get readings. After that, the rest of you are going to have to wait until I get back. Or if there's downtime that I have on my trip, then you can also check in with me for a reading. Good morning, Susan. How are you? So, Michelle Brooks, good morning. And let's see, anybody else checking in with us? That's it for right this minute. So we are also looking at, besides Mars retrograde this week, the full moon across Cancer and Capricorn. And Cancer-Capricorn, of course, being the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn, it will be a full moon. It will be an interesting full moon because it is, I'm going to just call this the week of Saturn, the week that Saturn rules, because the full moon is sitting on top of Saturn. And if you look at the human design chart, which we are going to look at here shortly, you're going to see that the moon, the earth, and Saturn are all on top of each other for the week. So we are really in a position this week of grounding in Saturn lessons. And if you remember where I told you that Saturn is sitting at the gate of bliss or joy, and that's always sounds so funny, right? The planet that we think of as being stern and taciturn and the punishment planet or the karmic reward planet, which is the part we often forget, is sitting at the gate of joy. Wow, what does that mean? So that means every one of you, whether you have gate 58 defined in your chart or not, has it lit up this week, right? That whole, whatever that connects to in your human design chart is all under the microscope this week. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more here in a few moments. Today, the moon is in Sagittarius. We do not have a void, of course, moon dogging us. We have all systems go for a wonderful day. Good morning, Cindy. And Michelle, I saw a comment. What did you say? Ooh, you are going on vacation. Yes, I'm going to be gone as I take a trip with my new siblings. I take a trip with my sister-in-law and my brother, whom I've already met, but I'm flying down to Long Beach in California, where they're going to drive in their motorhome up through California, Oregon, and into Washington and over to Montana, meeting all the brothers and sisters that they haven't met yet, but that I've also not met yet. And the culmination point will be when I meet my brother in Montana, whose DNA test matched mine and set off this whole odyssey of connecting me up with family, filling a void that I'd had for damn near 56 years, right? I just didn't know these people existed. And it was a crazy odyssey. And this will be an interesting odyssey as well, because meeting people, of course, is always, it feels really scary, but it also feels really good. And so it'll be a fun trip. And Ukiah in Northern California, is that off the 5? Because I think we're taking 5 up. We're heading through Ventura, through Bakersfield, up the valley, up into Sacramento, and then up into Medford, Oregon. And we'll spend time at Crater Lake and Central Point, Oregon, and then on up through Junction City, Eugene, McMinnville, and the parts right around there. And then we head up to Washington here, where that part of my family gets to meet my family. And so then I'll be back home briefly the 14th and 15th of July. And then I leave again with my husband in tow this time to Montana to meet up with Alan, who is the brother that kicked it off. So Michelle says, no, she's off 101. I don't know that we'll be over that way. So I wish I was. I wish I could just stop in every town that all of you listeners are at and just meet you all for coffee, or just, to give a hug and move on. If any of you are in any of those cities that I just mentioned, tell me, and I will certainly see if there's a way that we can do that, or anywhere up and down the I-5 corridor on the West Coast, or between Washington and Kalispell in Montana. which would take us through Coeur d'Alene, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it'll be an interesting trip. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous, but it's going to be fun. 3 weeks on the road. I don't think I've ever been 3 weeks in a motorhome ever in my life. Come to think of it, I'm not sure I've even spent a night in a motorhome. So Veva's in Portland. I will be in Portland. At some point, I know we'll have to drive through there if nothing else. So maybe we can connect somewhere there. I know my brother and sister-in-law are probably going, oh my, yeah. What have we created? But that is also why my broadcasts for the next few weeks may be, few and far between. I was talking with a woman who is very in the know when it comes to business, using technology and audio and video and all of that. And she says that I should be able to broadcast through my telephone for this morning broadcast. It may not be through Be Live, but at least it would be to my Facebook Live page. So I may be able to keep updated. I doubt it will be 5 days a week, but we shall see what happens. So just giving you that heads up. And so this week I will make sure we get as much detail in. And even if I can't get on live with you through video, I shall be able to write, which is going to be a new focus for me for a while as well. Okay, today, Moon in Sagittarius, pushing us into more adventurous territory, the seeking of the truth. It is a fire sign, and it is a fire sign that sometimes connects us to being blunt and saying it like it is, or not mincing words, if you will. Luckily, Mercury is not sitting at a gate that mimics that. And so we might be able to temper that today in ourselves and just enjoy the idea of exploration, discovery, and finding out more and more about yourself, about the world you live in, about what is going on in your personal life, what is being mirrored to you, all of that kind of stuff. And Cindy I will be gone for 3 weeks. From I leave the 30th of June. I will be back on air July 23rd from my home base. So that's about 3 weeks or so. And what a way to make the summer fly. Woohoo. Because my favorite time of the year is fall, and that's coming. That's what gets me through the hot weather, is that the fall is coming. Winter is coming. At any rate, let's take a look then. Oh, no, I hadn't finished the thing. Also today, Venus in Leo is squaring Jupiter in Scorpio. This is another one of those hallmark kind of transits that has us really looking deeply at what are our values, and how do we evolve our values? How do we expand those values into, what is centered from the heart? Venus is in the very heart-centered sign of Leo, and Jupiter in the very penetrating and passionate sign of Scorpio. And so we have to look deeply. And, we're seeing, I have a saying for you guys. Where did I write this down this morning? And this has really to do with Mercury in the Human Design Week, but I thought it was pretty profound in terms of this Venus squaring Jupiter as well, because it says the movements and views of the inner world are reflected by the movements and views in the outer world. And I will bring that up again in the context of Mercury. But really what it's telling us is that whatever it is we see on that outer world stage, right? So everything from people's attitudes to what Trump does to, the demonstrations that go on, the vote that occurred 2 years ago, all of these things are really outpicturing of things that are going on within each one of us. And I don't mean that as a way to tell people this is your fault or you guys are idiots. That's not, and don't even talk to yourselves that way. Just use this as a way to reflect upon what is that outer world showing you, where maybe do you have to realign your values? What is it that what is it from the heart? What is your heart telling you? There are a lot of people out there justifying their views based on fear principles, right? If you talk to someone who is, let's say, all for building a wall along the border or, keeping these people out of our country, it's based on a fear that what's happening are the immigrants are all thieves and rapists and all that kind of thing. Those are, these are fear-based thoughts that have gotten tangled up in our values, and teasing those apart is what we are needing to do. And today the moon is also in a sextile to Saturn. So we're already in the setup to the full moon, where we're going to be able to take a look not only at our values, but we're going to be looking at what really is it that brings humanity joy. And how is it that we can create a foundation of that? How do we realign ourselves with that energy? And I can guarantee you that outer world, as horrible as it looks, is really all about these inner changes that are happening for each one of us on the planet. Each one of us has a role in this. And so the best way to start is to look at your own values, look at your own freaking fears, right? I had to do this on Friday. I had to look it square in the face and go, what are you afraid of? What are you doing? Why are you basing your life on this story? Story, right? The story that we tell ourselves about everything. Everything in your life is based on a story of some sort, right? If you're holding yourself back from doing what you always love, there's a story there, one that's based in fear, maybe. If you are loving your family and having a great time, there's a story there. You know, there's good stories, and then there are the not so good stories. And it's those not so good stories that are often deeply embedded within us through unconscious patterns, possibly from past lives, possibly from your childhood. Here's another aha. The first 7 years of your life laid down the template for a lot of the things that are going on in your life today. For us as human beings, for us as a country, for us as a world. And there are huge ramifications in this. Not everybody is willing to do this dive. And I'm encouraging every one of you. I know my Roseannes and my Mimis and my Michelles and my Cindy's and all of you, whoever's name I haven't mentioned. I know you all are out there doing this, the Susans, the Suzannes. You guys are willing to do this. Otherwise, you wouldn't show up here just about every day to hear what's happening. But we also know that when we're working our own stuff, that rolls out from us energetically and affects the other people around us. Maybe through you changing, it encourages others to change. And whether that's from anything you say or anything that you directly encourage that person to do or not, energetically, it is an encouragement for others to come in alignment with new values. And this is a week for us to look at new values for sure. So let me, before I forget to tell you, there is a void of course moon coming, even though it's not today, tomorrow at 8:54 a.m. Pacific Coast time to 8:53 in the morning on June 27th. So we have about a 21 to 22 hour void of course moon from tomorrow to till Wednesday, actually till right up to almost the full moon. And then for you guys on the East Coast, that's 8:54 a.m. Did I say, I said 5:54, I hope, a.m. West Coast time. 8:54 a.m. East Coast time to 11:53 a.m. on the 27th. So that is ending as the full moon is culminating. And tomorrow we'll talk more about that full moon. But what I want to get into now is a little bit more depth in what is going on in the Human Design Week. I think, when I look for words, sometimes it's difficult and all I can come up with is interesting. But when I look for words about what the energies are bringing to us or about what is happening, oh, Michelle, that's interesting. You should look at his chart if you have a way to do that, or let me get his birth information from you, see what's going on. Michelle said her husband's birthday is the day of the full moon. And anyway, so when we start to look at the human design energy for the week, it gives me words, which give me feelings and emotions and ideas about what may be occurring for us. And then when I get to look at it through the gene keys, I get to look deeper. I get to have a deeper look at what's going on. So this week, the sun begins its trek through gate 52. Now, gate 52 is probably not going to be the one that you really want to have the sun in, because it's the gate of stillness. When I was working through my hologenetic profile in the gene keys, gate 52 is at a very prominent place in my holographic profile. And I was irritated with that, right? Because restraint, stillness, stress. I mean, what the heck, right? I don't want to have that, but it's there nonetheless. And this week, the sun is there for all of us. So the lowest expression of the sun at gate 52 is stress. And I would say I could make the argument that there has been a lot of stress on us as people, whether it's coming through your dream state, whether it's coming through your personal life, whether it's coming to you via the news media or the social medias. You are under stress. If you're vibrating at the lower level, it's going to be very prominent for you this week as the sun sits at the shadow of stress. However, we have the opportunity to move ourselves up through that, right? Through to restraint and then up through to stillness, the highest expression of this gene key or of this gate in this week. And so this is a place, by the way, this is that eagle that the Scorpio people can get to, where all of us actually can get to. We all have Scorpio somewhere in our chart, where we can elevate our perspective, and through stillness, we can sit through that from that perspective and we can see the bigger picture, right? We can gain that perspective by quieting down and being still. So this is a week where I would say not much is going to happen. Not much is going to happen for us, perhaps personally. There may be a lot going on. And maybe it's different than that. Maybe there is a lot going on, and it is that tornado of events. And everyone knows, of course, in the center of a tornado, in the center of the hurricane, is the quiet spot, the stillness spot, the spot through which all the chaos is traveling around. And I would urge everyone to get to that point. If your life looks chaotic this week, or if there's just chaos in the outer world, which is possible for sure, then go to your still spot to be able to gain perspective about what all this is happening, or what all this means for you, and be able to see the bigger picture. Now, while the sun is at gate 52, the earth is at gate 58. Gate 58 is the gate of joy. Let me see if I've got a human design chart here that I can grab. And gate 58 is also the place where where the moon and where Saturn are sitting. So there's a lot of focus on this gate for this week. And here we go. Here's my human design chart. Over here, gate 58, right down here. This gate here. So it is a foundation energy. It's sitting on the root center. So this one little gate has both the Earth and the planet Saturn, and for the full moon, the moon also sitting at this gate. Lots of focus on joy, lots of focus on vitality. In fact, the 3 planets sitting there the lowest expression of the gate, by the way, is dissatisfaction. And I think we can all resonate a little bit with that energy, right? When we're not happy or in joy, it's because there's something in our life that there's a dissatisfaction, perhaps in the shadows. Maybe not happy with the amount of money you're making, maybe not happy with the job that you're at, not happy with how your relationships are going. Maybe your health is a challenge to you. So there's this sense of dissatisfaction when we're dealing with the shadow of these 3 planets at this gate. And it leads us to the gift in the gate, which is vitality. How do we restore our vitality? And of course, the ultimate is bliss and joy in this gate. It shows us the foundation of our humanity is in that energy of vitality and joy. That dissatisfaction is just something like fear that has creeped in that is covering it up. And indeed, the other side of this gate 58 is the gate 18, which is always searching for perfection. Now, gate 18 has great use in the world. If you're proofreading a document, or you're proofreading a book, or you need that detail orientation, then gate 18 is your gate. But other times it creates a sensation of my life will be perfect when. And that very thought, my life will be perfect when, starts to eat away at your joy and your vitality, because it lets dissatisfaction with the now creep in. Right? It takes you out of the now and either into the past or into the future. And no decisions should be made from there, by the way. That is not anywhere near the decision-making capabilities that you have So don't make decisions from that spot. No one has root center decision-making capacity. So we don't make decisions from there. The energy in this gate is about what is keeping you separate from joy. What is keeping you separate? What is keeping you away from the energy of joy and vitality in your life? And, it might be something small. It might be a story you're telling yourself. I discovered that one. It's a story I've been telling myself that has kept me away from completely experiencing my life in joy and vitality. So we have major focus in this particular area in this particular week. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. This week, today, I have like a whole back page of stuff to tell you, a whole front page worth of stuff to tell you. And somehow I'm going to get through this all today. Mercury, our little messenger planet, may be the key planet for us for the week. Even though we have lots of energy lined up at gate 58, Earth, Moon, and Saturn, I think it is going to be the energy of Mercury that really is the pivot through which we go through this week. And that's because the messenger planet begins at the gate of impeccability, gate 62, which, by the way, is also about the details. The devil's in the details. And are we being impeccable with our word, with our deeds, with everything that we do? And if I had had time, I might have looked up the word impeccable. Maybe someone in the background can do that for me. But if you're going to do that for me, look for all of the definitions, because we often get the first two being the most important ones in the world view, but there's usually a spiritual one that's a little further down. So maybe somebody look up the word impeccable and come back and let me know what that means, because this is how we begin the week. This is the message coming to the mind and coming through the words. The communication level that we're at is about impeccability. And then later in the week, 2 days from now, the planet Mercury moves to the gate 56. This is called the Wanderer in the I Ching. This is what the gate is called, the Wanderer. And here is where we get into that quote that I used about Venus squaring Jupiter, and that is the movements and views of the inner world are reflected by the movements and views in the outer world. The movements and views of the inner world are reflected by movements and views in the outer world. We always know, of course, when we're dealing with astrology, it's as above, so below. But there's also the other part of that, which says, so without, as within, so without. And so we're often seeing those reflections. Good morning, Marlene. It's good to see you. Faultless, pristine, etc. I'm guessing you looked up impeccability for me. Keep looking, because I want to see what like the very last one. What's it going to say? What's it going to say? Faultless. Think about that for a minute. Pristine. Think about that for a minute. It goes along with that other gate that we talked about last week, that the highest expression of the gate was innocence. That was the work that we were doing last week. So this week, the work is about impeccability, not capable of sin. Love it. Love it. What is sin? The word sin originally meant, it was a word that was originally about archery, and it meant to miss the mark. And your guess is as good as mine. I'm sure I could find the story about how sin became attached to our being somehow not worthy, right? That we are flawed. And of course, that isn't true. None of that is true. But we're afraid it's true. And we tell the story that it's true. The great religions, the people of religious ideology, sin is a big part of who they are in the world, right? Sin. Error is another. Kristen, good morning. So it's interesting, right? We are not capable of sin. Maybe Mercury is reminding you of that. And it, right. I was thinking to myself, but there are people out there sinning, but not capable of sin. And if we start expressing that according to everybody out there, including those people we don't necessarily like, and you know who I'm talking about, the people whose actions that we don't like, then what does that mean for us? Well, here's one of the things I was thinking about this morning, that for the most part, what Mercury is telling us about is this idea of the circle of life, which to me, circle of life began to be more like closed circuit thinking. The same old story, right? It keeps going around. The same old story. The circle of life, we tell ourselves the same old story, and then we pass it to our children, and then our children tell that story, and they tell it to their children, and we keep the circle going. And so at the lower expression of this gate, we become locked in the story of humanity, as opposed to what it could become, which is more about the spiral of life, that life is a spiral, and those stories are how we are learning the lessons as we evolve through, which leaves us with an open mind and an open heart. And there we can connect to expansive beliefs. If we have expansive beliefs, we're changing our values, right? We're changing our values about everything. So do you want to keep caught up in the circle? And there's nothing wrong with the circle. So I'm not saying that there's something wrong there. But I'm wondering if there isn't a way for us to reach to the spiral of life, where we can see the beauty of the things that have happened in the past and how we've outgrown that story, and how we can change that story now to be more inclusive, as opposed to exclusive, right? That is what Mercury is bringing us this week. And the highest expression in the gene keys, and this one, I'm going to have to look at, because I didn't have time this morning to really dig deep into this, but the highest expression in the gene keys for this is intoxication. And when, of course, I think of intoxication, I'm thinking of a bunch of drunk people. But what are we drunk on? Instead of some kind of substance, maybe it's being drunk on life, being intoxicated with life. So that will be one that I will check out further, of course, later. As soon as we're done today, I'll probably pick up my gene key book and start looking at that gene key and seeing what is intoxication. I mean, how does that play in? Because I like the word, I suppose, if you're thinking about being in such joy and bliss that everything in life, the beauty of it, is intoxicating. Marlene says, happy hour. Yeah, happy hour, but maybe without the alcohol. Maybe it's a whole body, whole being happy hour, intoxication. And let's just make it a happy 24 hours. Why not? Right? And Roseanne says, yes, we tell so many stories. So many stories. So many stories. So let's look at Venus this week. I'm looking at the inner planets mostly. The only outer planet I really am looking at is Saturn, because I think we've talked about the other ones. No big changes in this week. Of course, now I say that, let me make sure, because something just occurred to me. No, we're fine. So when we get to Venus, Venus is sitting at the gate 7 this week. All week long, she's at gate 7, which is a gate that is up on the identity center. Let me show it to you. The identity center, Ratia, gate 7, and it connects up to the throat at gate 31. This is the whole channel of leadership, right? This channel is one where we have leaders. If you have gate 31, you're a born leader. And if you have gate 7, you're meant to use the energy of leadership in finding common intent. So here's the energy of Venus in relationships this week. It's all about finding common intent. The lowest expression, and you are just going to die when you hear this one, the lowest expression is division. Division. And I think we see that quite prominently being displayed in front of us right now with this whole immigration deal. There's a huge division. Literally, some people out there advocating building a wall, which is literally a divider. Do we want more division? Are we really looking for that? Is that our common intent? To divide us from one another, to separate us? Division isn't a very far leap from separation. The gift in the gate 7 is guidance, and the highest expression is virtue. Again, those are some words that bring up some interesting, the language is sort of evocative of things other than maybe what we are thinking about here with gate 7. But guidance, leadership, When our projectors out there, those, let me see, do we have any projectors out there this morning? I haven't seen my Londa out there. She's busy. I don't remember, Veva, if you're I don't remember who my projectors are at the moment. Our projectors out there are here to lead, guide, and manage the generators and the manifesting generators. Most of them, often, a lot of them have gate 7. It's interesting, right? Gate 7, the projectors by their type are here to lead, guide, and manage. And then you put gate 7 and gate 31 in their charts, and they are natural born leaders. But what are they leading to, and how is that energy of leadership going to play out? Well, remember I said it's about finding common intent. So this leads us to a specific type of leadership style where the lowest expression of it is autocracy, autocrats, right? Taking us backwards to what sometimes our president is showing us that he would like to be, the dictator autocrat energy. Taking us backwards in time to Nazi Germany, where we had another dictator autocrat, a couple of them, represented the trifecta, right? The Mussolini and Hitler, and cannot remember the guy's name in Japan. I don't need their names, but that energy of autocracy or dictatorship in the shadow here, that's what this energy is about. What it leads us to is the gift of democracy, where in democracy, we all have an equal voice. It's leadership by consensus. It's leadership in a completely different way. And in democracy, there isn't a person that grabs the reins of power and leadership and puts themselves out there as I'm the king, I'm the autocrat, I'm the dictator, you will all do what I say. I want to read you a headline, if I can find my phone. I can't believe my phone isn't making noise. I forgot to even turn it off or turn it, to silent. This is the headline I saw this morning that just turned my guts inside out. And where are the headlines? Here we go. Trump calls for deportation without judges or court cases. And there was something yesterday, too, where he wanted to just totally bypass anything to do with the law, anything to do with the judicial system in making decisions about this immigration at the board, what's going on at the borders. That is dangerous territory, people. Dangerous territory. I think part of us from a sense of fear, and we know the shadow is all about fear, and the shadow here is autocracy. I think from some of us, and maybe all of us on some level, want someone to stand out and someone to take the reins and say, this is what we need to do, right? That's what we're thinking of as leadership, right? When everything gets so chaotic like this, I think it's real tempting. It's real tempting to say, well, let's just short circuit this whole thing and go straight to letting this man make our decisions for us. And that's a dangerous path, especially when through human design, we see very clearly that isn't the design for human beings. The design for human beings is about democracy. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I talking about the political democracy. The idea of democracy is about leadership of the people, by the people, for the people, right? That's what this is all about. In its highest form, I guess you could say leadership from where we use the rule of law. Democracy is about the rule of law. And that takes me to the mind, right? What's the mind up to? And it's a gift. Democracy is a gift. But if we are going to learn to rule by the heart, then the highest expression in this gene key or in this gate is meritocracy. I'll leave that word with you to look up. If you guys have the Gene Key book, look up Gate 7, look up meritocracy, because it's leadership from the heart. And it's leadership that sees that everybody has their place. And it is by merit, right? It isn't because you were elected, because there's this group of conservatives over here that spend their time in fear and want that kind of energy, and rule to happen on the planet. It's not about that. It's really about who is right for the job, whose gifts are and talents put them in alignment with that job. So meritocracy. Meritocracy, from merit. Pie-eyed. What does that mean, Roseanne? I've heard that saying before, and I'm not sure what that means. So can you quick tell us? She says she's giving me the word pie-eyed. Not sure what she means by that, but she'll tell us because she likes to tell us things. So please do tell us. What do you mean by that? So Venus at gate 7 this week, throughout everything that's happening, throughout the whole idea of an open mind and an open heart and expansive beliefs that Mercury brings us to, Venus is pushing us to, at the very least, democracy. And let's look toward something better than that. This or something better, right? Okay, Mars, we already know, sitting at gate 19. We did a deeper study on that weeks ago about the lower expression it is showing us is codependence, and it's bringing us up to sensitivity and to sacrifice. And sacrifice, we discovered, was the energy of when you let everything else go, but what it is that is your pathway to service. And Mimi saying it will take group effort to correct. Hold on, it went away. I'm going to put it up on screen. It will take group effort to correct our course for the highest good. Indeed. But it starts in here, right? It starts in here with us. We have to course correct ourselves in order for ourselves to be able to start seeing that out in the world. So every one of us are going to have to take a look at our damn fears. What are we holding on to? What is the story that we're telling ourselves? Right? There's a very popular story going on right now about how funny. Oh, hi. There we go. There's the story about these immigrants are going to take your benefits. They're going to cost us more money. They're just a bunch of thieves and rapists and criminals that are coming across our borders. I find that so hard to believe. Do I believe there's the potential for some of those types of people to come across? Sure. But do I believe that every one of those people coming across the border are here for that? No. So we've really got to look at this. And I'm not saying also that we just open up our borders right now and we say everybody come and everybody, just have at it. That's not it either. But we've got to start somewhere. And it's going to have to begin with the heart opening. So I think that is what we are seeing in our outer world is the exact opposite. We see voices out there that are from heart. I don't mean to say that everybody out there, you're all a bunch of mind-centered, fear-centered people. But the actions that have been taken thus far are from fear. And those are what some of us have been rejecting and have been saying, but that isn't inclusivity. That isn't coming from the heart. That isn't in alignment with our values. And so the discussion has to be about, well, what do we really value? And how do we align with our values? That's what it's always about. And we need leaders to show us that, right? We need democracy to show us that. We need those voices to overcome those other voices of fear that see that people coming into our country take away our benefits, eat our tax monies, do whatever, right? I was watching a news show last night. I could only watch it for like 5 minutes because I was just so disgusted by it. I turned it off. And I think it was a Dateline show. And there was a humanitarian group that goes out to the desert in Tucson, I think it was, that they were specifically talking about, Tucson area, where a lot of people cross and a lot of people die in the desert from heat and they die from lack of water. And so they were putting out watering stations, right? It was so sweet. I mean, they would take bottles of water, big jugs of water, and they would put them out there. And this one woman was drawing great loving messages on the bottle. In Spanish, she would write, Vaya con Dios. She would write, pura, what was the word? Agua vida or something like pure water. And wishes, for them and their safety and things like that. She was writing this on the bottles. And it showed a hidden camera kind of thing of Border Patrol agents coming along, opening those bottles, dumping the water, kicking them, punching holes in them. And those bottles were left then empty for anybody who was going through the desert without water. It broke my heart. It just broke my heart. You can argue all you want the right or the wrongness of immigration, but that is the basic need we have is water. And if someone was taking their time to put that out there, to gift people who are wandering in the desert looking for a better life, mind you, to give them water, and then to have other people come along and apparently there had been a policy that was, I don't know. I don't know. I turned it off. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I may go back and watch the whole thing, but I just got sick to my stomach because would we treat each other that way? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying, I don't know. It's complicated, right? But it doesn't have to be complicated. If our hearts are in the right places and if we align ourselves with our values, which by the way, this week appears to be the theme, then we can make other choices. We can make choices from heart. We can make choices from impeccability. We can make choices from joy, and we can make choices from seeing things from a higher perspective. And that's all I have for you all today. Actually, it's a lot though. So I think maybe we should draw a card. What you think, right? I did draw a card last week, by the way, on Friday, and I never gave it out because it just never seemed to come up. So I thought maybe I had the wrong card. So, oh no, let's do a card for the week then and see what we want to look at. We've had this card before. It's like a theme. It's the card number 16, and it's all that glitters, and it came out straight up. And all that glitters, number 16. This may be telling us to look deeper. So the essential message for us for the week, this is for the week. We'll do another one on Wednesday when we talk about the full moon. The essential meaning, a need to see beyond the superficial. The desire to don a mask or dress something up to disguise its true nature. Trying to be something you're not. Chasing after every sparkly new thing. And being mercurial. I love that, mercurial, because that says Mercury. So let's go back to our Mercury message. The Mercury message was about impeccability and intoxication. And was it about closed circuit thinking or open mind, open heart? So let's continue the oracle's message. It's only human to want to adorn oneself in trinkets and paint a pretty picture of oneself. It's natural to want to acquire the trappings of status or to deny them as a statement of rebellion. But if it sparkles, is it better? Whether it's a fast car, a big house, a title or position, the stamp of authority, or the sparkling of diamonds, these icons let you know something about a person, place, or thing. Or do they? The truth is that people seek to acquire things because of what they will do for them and how they symbolically will elevate them and make them more attractive. This card signals that it's time to see beyond the adornments and probe underneath the surface. Learn to recognize the masks people wear and the motives underlying them. Imagine that all the glitter is gone. Would you still desire the object or person? In the relationship message, it says sometimes we try to become something we are not to impress others. We embellish a story a bit, adding some dramatic elements to make us more appealing. Or we embellish the story to make the thing even worse, right? Anyway, the real person becomes hidden behind the sparkle and the shine. Then there are times when we don't see the true value of someone else because he or she may not have the glitz and glamour, that seems so desirable. Now is the time to look past the surface, beyond the mask, to the essence of a person, who that person is, not what he or she has or can give you, is important. See beyond the glitter and look for use the eyes in your heart. Let go of artifice and let what is authentic shine. Which, by the way, is why I look at human design, because it's about bringing out those authentic human qualities. It's about bringing out our authenticity and living from that as opposed to the story. The prosperity message in the card says, sometimes an opportunity looks so good that it glitters like gold, and you just can't resist it, especially when it appears others are doing so well and have hit the mother lode. During the American gold rush, everyone hurried west to find their fortune and then deserted entire towns after the mining depleted the gold veins in the earth. So too can you deplete yourself as you chase after the latest shiny thing that has caught your eye. There is a mercurial quality to your present circumstances. Pay no attention to those who chase after fool's gold. Resist the temptation to be jealous of others. What they have achieved may not be the true success you seek, so don't compare yourself to them. You see only the surface right now, only the sparkle. Be assured that you will experience your own shining moment if you stick to what you know. All that glitters may not be gold for you. Well, I would say that's a pretty profound card. Interesting, isn't it, that it is also talking about Mercury, who I'd already intuited this week was going to be the power player of all of the planets. And there we have it right there. Validation, validation, validation. So all that glitters is not necessarily gold. Right? So let me remind you, I have 3 spots for people. If you want a reading this week to be able to take a look at what's happening for you over the summer with the different transits that are going on, we'll look at your human design as well as your astrology, assuming that you've had a human design reading already. Let me know. I have only 3 spots. That reading is $99. I will put the link out for you when I go back and talk through the comments. Let's see what else is coming up this week. I think that's about it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I love you all. Thank you so much. Mwah. Have a great day.